All right, so in this video, I'm going to share with you one of the most important aspects of musicality. Once you get this right, all your musicality problem that you think that you have will be gone forever. And I mean it. Now, how can I make a promise like this? Basically, what I mean by that is what we're going to cover today is groove continuity. And groove is something that is just crucial for us dancers to understand. Now, the only challenge is that when we go online, for example, and we're trying to find answers about groove, there are so many good answers, but at the same time, most of them, they're not very practical. It's very difficult to actually, once we learn about it, to actually practice it in our dance. So in this video, I want to make sure that I will be sharing what is groove and also help you understand it on a psychological level first, and then how to make it practical in your freestyle dance. All right, so let's go for it. So I like to compare dance with language. And if we say, for example, hip-hop dance, right? And then we have language, English language, right? So when we make the comparison of both, you will see there is a lot of similarity, okay? And this is how we will also understand groove on the psychological level first, all right? So let's go for it. So basically what I mean by that is when it comes to a language, one of the first things that we use to communicate is to know the words of that language, right? Just like when it comes to dance, the first thing is movement, right? The movement, that the words that we use to communicate in dance, that would be movement. Now, if we go back to language again, and we say, okay, if we have the words, what do we use to actually put the words together so that they can make sense, to structure our words and speak clearly? What do we use for that is the grammar. Once we understand the grammar of a language, we can structure the words in a much better way so that we can communicate clearly. So if we have the grammar here in dance, what would we have? We would have the foundations. So in hip hop, would be the foundations like the bounce, the roll, the rock. Yes? So these foundations help us kind of structure our movement so that we can clearly understand, okay, which language we are talking here. And in that case, that would be hip hop dance, right? But once we have the words and we have the grammar, what else do we need to communicate, right? That language. The next step would be our voice. And the voice is very interesting because the voice is the part that is very natural, right? It's very natural. When I start talking, I don't overthink what voice I'm going to be using. I just start talking, and then chances are you're going to hear my voice again and be like, that's Nickel talking, right? So my voice is the last part that I use, right? I don't know, it's not really the last part, but basically it's the part that I use to express what I've got in mind. And once I finish structuring the words, I start talking, I use my voice very naturally. Now, the voice in dance would be the groove. So in a sense, the groove is your natural way of moving. Yes? But now if I tell you like this, the groove is your natural way of moving, I think you still don't get it fully. You're like, okay, I understand what you're saying, Nika, but how can I apply this in my dance? Don't worry, I'm coming to that part, right? But to reiterate, we've got the words, movement, grammar, foundation, your voice, groove, right? So ultimately, we want to get to a point where we don't necessarily need to think about the groove because it's so natural to us. The moment you start moving, you start grooving, right? And you do it very naturally. And therefore, it becomes your natural way of moving. And then everything you add on top of that are extra, right? To kind of add extra layer to your freestyle dance, but the groove has to be very natural. Yes? Now that we understand it on a psychological level, now let's see how can we make this practical in our dance. And for that to happen, I'm gonna need to use my good friend, the metronome. So, the metronome, I'm just gonna play the metronome, and then we're gonna start understanding the groove even better, right? And make it practical in our freestyle dance. Okay, so here I play the metronome, right? I just put it on 70 BPM. And now, if I'm following that beat, right? And I, for example, just do this. Okay, so if I do this, I would assume that I'm not offbeat, right? I was just, actually, let me play it again, and then I can explain at the same time. So if I'm doing this, I'm not offbeat, right? Yeah, I'm hitting the beat in the right timing, right? But also, I am not necessarily dancing here. I'm just hitting the music. I'm just hitting the beat, right? Now, look what happened if I want to actually hit the beat and start dancing at the same time. So all of a sudden, what I'm doing here is that I'm still hitting the beat, but can you see in between, in the gap, there is a continuous motion going on, and that's the groove. You see? Now, if I go back again to that static mode, I'm not dancing here. I'm not dancing. And here, you can see that you're just hitting the beat, right? And when we are just hitting the beat, we're not necessarily dancing really, yeah? But the moment we start naturally moving, you see, I'm still playing with the music. I don't even need to hit it, right? Just because I'm adding the groove, right? Therefore, all of a sudden, I'm dancing and I'm making the groove really practical in my dance, right? Right? Yes? Now you're dancing, right? And then you can also decide to groove and hit. Groove, and at the same time you're hitting, right? So basically, the groove is right in the middle. Is what is actually linking, I would say, the silence, right? Because in between, you've got the silence. And then the moment you start moving, yeah, you're filling the gap. You're filling the gap with your groove, and you can also shape the groove differently if you want to, and still be with the music, right? So now that we understand this, we can start going deeper in that lesson, all right? Okay, so now that you understand this, here's the first exercise. And the exercise that I'm going to share with you, you're gonna be like, really, Nikhil? Do you really think I'm gonna be doing this? This is too boring. There is no way I'm gonna be doing that. But I promise you, if you take the time to do the exercise that I'm going to share with you and you do it on a regular basis, your musicality will literally be on a whole different level. Why? Because most people will not take the time to do this because they will assume it's too boring. Is when you're going to be practicing, just take maybe 5 to 10 minutes as you warm up, and even 15 minutes if you want to, up to 15 minutes as you warm up, to play the metronome, right? You can get any metronome app on your phone. You play the metronome and you dance on the metronome. And your goal is to actually try to do a decent rounds just with the metronome and make your dance interesting just with the metronome. And yes, again, I can hear you saying, no, Nikhil, no, I'm not gonna do this. This is too boring. But it's up to you. It's up to you. You know, the thing that at a certain level, it's all about details plus details plus details that will make the difference. And I'm sharing something with you that is really detailed, right? It's really detailed. And you can also cultivate it at any level. You don't have to be a master, or you don't have to be someone who's got like 20 years of experience to do that. And the good part is you can revisit that exercise anytime. Even myself, I still do this from time to time, going back to just dancing on the metronome. And you will see that with the metronome, you cannot lie. You will realize that, oh, actually when I'm dancing, I'm doing so many extra movements that are not necessary, right? Just because you start moving and you realize, okay, there isn't like, too many beats in the music that I need to take. I only have 2 simple beats. What can I do with this? And then you will see that when you start dancing, all of a sudden you're doing extra movement that are not necessary, right? So the metronome is also a great way to subtract what is not necessary in your dance, so you can just focus on the essential, right? So once again, if you want to push your musicality to a whole different way, I would highly recommend to try this, but also to challenge yourself when you are doing it. I'm going to show you, I'm going to play the music, and then I'm going to start dancing with just with the metronome, and I'm going to try my very best to also shape my groove and still make the round interesting. All right, let's give this a try. All right, so you take your time with the metronome. All right, so I know probably this is not something that you expected when you read the title of that video, and you might be like, okay, I've never tried that before, and I'm curious to see if I do this, how it will be in my dance. And I would highly recommend again to give it a try. Not for just one round, but for several rounds. Several rounds, and you will start realizing the power of this. And then even when you're going to be dancing for real, you will also have way more patience, and take your time with the music, okay? So once you do that long enough, the second exercise is to do your very best to keep the same state of mind when you're going to be dancing on a real song as well. You will see that you're going to start taking even more your time to play with the music, but at the same time you're not rushing, because you are focusing on your natural way of moving first, which is the moment I hear the music, I feel like moving this way. I feel like grooving this way. And then once you get it, and then you start playing with the music, but you keep the groove continuity on top, the priority. Yes? So that would be like, I play a song, a normal song now. All right. So that's it. So as you can see, I did my very best to just keep that same state of mind, which is groove as the priority. The moment I hear the music, I'm not rushing it. I just want to take my time and play and just start moving in a really more continuous way. Once I get that, everything that I will add extra, right, is more to add different layers to how I'm going to be playing with the music. But I never cut the flow, right? I keep the flow, I keep the groove as the priority, and then I add on top of it. So therefore, you don't see me like, oh, you know, I'm grooving right now, and then I'm grooving again, and then, you see what I mean? You see that those cuts, those really harsh cuts, you don't want to have them anymore. You want everything to be very, smooth, right? But then, often, we don't necessarily know how to do this. And I hope with that video, you have a much better idea, not only how to understand it, but also how to make it practical, how to really use it in your dance. And you will see when you try the metronome exercise, it's not going to be as easy, I would say, as it seems to be, right? And you really realize, okay, you need to pay attention. You need to stay focused to be able to be continuous and not adding extra movement just for the sake of it, and have a much more, I would say, mature way of dancing. Yes? So in terms of the training. That's pretty much it for today. And also, if you are curious to know even more, to learn even more about that type of topic, I've got a 1 hour training where I dive even deeper into that type of lessons. So the link is in the description. Check it out if you want. And other than that, you can just simply watch the next video that's coming as well. All right. So thank you for watching today, and I'll see you on the next one. All right. Take care.